Hey up! Right, I didn't get any filming done yesterday. I finally broke the back on this living room job, which has been a pain in my side for 3 months now. And I finally managed to get a tradesman down yesterday to just do one more job that was required to get everything finished so we can tidy it up and just get on with life. I've been living on a building site for weeks. Right, I made a video about 4, maybe 5 years ago about doing your own motorcycle maintenance. Strangely, I still get regular comments on that video, which is unusual for an old video. So it's clearly a subject that's on people's minds on a regular basis. Not only that, I do make other videos on maintenance, and certain questions constantly, repeatedly keep cropping up. So I thought today would be a good day to revisit why it's a good idea to do as much of your own motorcycle maintenance as you're able to, and also just deal with some of the most frequently asked questions. The most frequent one is warranty. If I do my own oil change, adjust my own tappets, do my own servicing on my new or newish motorcycle, will it invalidate my warranty? Well, the short answer to this is no. The longer answer is sometimes, maybe, sort of. Now, this is going to vary from territory to territory and country to country. The UK and Europe in 2010, what was known as the block exemption was invoked, and this was basically measures put in place by various governments to stop manufacturers fleecing owners of new vehicles with exorbitant servicing costs in order to maintain the warranties. Now, motorcycles often tend to get overlooked, and the original block exemptions didn't cover two-wheeled vehicles. In fact, some manufacturers still argue that it still doesn't. Now, in 2013, there were some alterations made to the block exemption rules, and I believe there's actually been some amendments since then. And certain motorcycle manufacturers like Triumph and BMW basically acknowledged that people didn't have to have their new motorcycles serviced with a BMW or Triumph dealership. But in the event of a warranty claim pertaining to something that was a service issue, or maybe affected by servicing, they did require proof that the servicing had been carried out to BMW or Triumph specifications. So the onus of proof will be on the owner of the vehicle to prove that that servicing was carried out correctly. Now, I've always done my own servicing regarding those two manufacturers. I've never had an issue. In fact, I can't actually say that either of them have ever questioned servicing. It's never come into the conversation in the event of a warranty claim. Other motorcycle manufacturers are not of the same ilk, unfortunately. I had a guy a few months ago sort of complaining to me that he'd done his own oil and filter change, and there was some rust on his front mudguard or his tank, I can't remember which it was, and because he'd carried out his own first service, the dealership wouldn't honour the warranty. Well, this is just pure belligerence on their part. There's no way that an oil and filter change can affect the quality of the paintwork on a mudguard or a fuel tank. Now, I can't give legal advice because I'm not qualified to do that, but what I can share with you is a little bit of knowledge that I have of the Consumer Rights Act here in the UK. I believe most of the EU countries are also covered by very similar consumer rights legislation. But for the most part in this video, you can take it that I'm mainly talking about the UK. Now, when you buy a new motorcycle, you're buying it from a dealership, from a retailer. You are not buying it from the manufacturer, so you have no legally binding contract with that manufacturer whatsoever. It's the dealership, the retailer, that is responsible for the quality of the goods that you buy from them. And in the case of a motorcycle, he's responsible for the ability of that product, in this case a motorcycle, to carry out its role as a motorcycle for up to 6 years. It's not the manufacturer's responsibility. Your retailer has a contract of some sort with the manufacturer, but you don't need to worry about that. Now, we've all had it. You go to your dealership with a fault on your new bike, and straight away he'll say to you, oh, well, we're going to have to take photographs, or we're going to have to contact the manufacturer, and we have to wait and get the go-ahead from them to one of the warranty claim. Well, I'll tell you now, that is all smoke and mirrors. He or she is doing that for their benefit, so that they don't end up forking out for repairs, and then the manufacturer turn around and say, actually, yeah, we're not going to pay you for that. He's trying to hedge his bets, because the truth is, it's his responsibility to put it right, and then claim compensation back from the manufacturer. It's not the manufacturer's responsibility to put it right. You have no contract with the manufacturer. Your contract is with the retailer. Now, this, of course, serves several purposes. One, he ensures that he's going to get paid for the work that he's going to carry out from the manufacturer before he agrees to do it. And secondly, if the manufacturer for some reason gets a bit awkward about the warranty claim, he can blame it on them. He's effectively removing himself from the process of rectifying a fault on a product that he's sold to you. Now, here in the UK, the Consumer Rights Act protects you against defects on new products, including motorcycles. And as I've said, it's the retailer's responsibility for rectifying that fault and sorting it out with the manufacturer later. Now, that doesn't mean that you should be belligerent and start, quoting the Consumer Rights Act, etc. Be pragmatic, allow him to go through that process. It doesn't normally add much time onto the process of getting your bike sorted. Go along with his little charade, but be aware, a manufacturer's warranty is just the icing on the cake, if you like. The Consumer Rights Act covers you for just about everything, way above and beyond what any manufacturer's warranty can offer. And if you look at any properly drafted manufacturer's warranty, one of the last lines in that warranty will be something along the lines of, this warranty does not affect your statutory rights, because they cannot override the Consumer Rights Act. Now, of course, there are some things that are not covered by the Consumer Rights Act or by the warranty. If your bike is, let's say, 6 or 12 months old and you've worn your back tyre out, or you've stretched your chain beyond its normal parameters, or, of course, it needs an oil change, they are considered consumables. They're not covered by the Consumer Rights Act or by the warranty, unless they sort of fail within a few miles of you picking the bike up. Generally speaking, if a fault occurs within 6 months of the purchase of a product, the law pretty much states that that fault is considered to have been present at the time of purchase. Once you get past the 6 months, things change slightly, but not a lot. You might have to provide some degree of proof that an engine failure or a wheel falling apart or something was not your fault. Generally, it's not difficult. Now, obviously, if you crash the bike, you're not covered. That's down to your insurance company. But the Consumer Rights Act will protect you against any defects that you can reasonably require not to be present at the time of purchase. Now, paintwork is a bit of a sticky wicket. For the most part, most manufacturers don't give any paint warranty. If there are obvious defects in the paintwork when you pick the bike up, or within a couple of days of picking it up, yeah, you shouldn't have any problem. But obviously something like a stone chip or a scuff that has happened through normal wear and tear on the bike that has left metal exposed that you haven't taken the time to, repair in some way to protect it, won't be covered by the warranty or by the Consumer Rights Act because it's wear and tear. It's not a defect that was present at the time of purchase or has developed during the course of time due to poor manufacture. Paintwork is a tricky one. Each case has to be sort of judged by its own merits. So I can't really give any hard and fast rules that will help you through that one. Now, this old chestnut about, we're not responsible for that rust, we're not going to claim for it under the manufacturer's warranty because you changed your own oil. Obviously, that is just rubbish. It's dishonest practice. That's a retailer trying to use your ignorance to wriggle out of his responsibilities. Don't put up with it. Your first port of call in the event of a dispute should always be the Trading Standards Office. You can get in touch with them through the Citizens Advice Bureau. They have a number of experts, legal experts, on the line that can talk you through your individual case and tell you what to do. The Consumer Rights Act is far more powerful than any warranty. Worst case scenario, you may have to issue a county court summons through the small claims court. It costs about £80 these days. I think the big problem with a lot of dealerships, especially the small ones, is this quite simply are not aware of the law and what your rights are. And my personal experience, the minute they receive a pre-litigation notice and the check out to find out where they stand, they immediately fold because they instantly realise that a £200 repair that is their responsibility to a motorcycle is a much more preferable way to deal with the matter than to spend £2,000, £3,000, £4,000 trying to defend it at court. And you don't need a solicitor to do that. Again, the trading standards people will help you through the process, other than the initial fee, which will be retrieved from the retailer. You don't have to pay anything for legal representation or anything like that. In fact, the small claims court is just that, and the small claims court generally discourages the involvement of solicitors. Right, so for the guy who had, some rust forming on his paintwork or whatever, and he was told he couldn't claim as a result of him changing the oil, the big problem that the retailer has there, of course, is that if you've carried out your own servicing, he needs to prove that you changing the oil caused the front mudguard to rust. And good luck to him with that one. Any instance where a retailer tries to wriggle out of a warranty claim because you've carried out a warranty on a totally unrelated item on the motorcycle is a complete fool and is insulting your intelligence. Now, I think the reason that they do these sort of things is often to punish you for not bringing the bike to them and spending what can sometimes be an absorbent amount of money for a service. They're punishing you for not spending money with them. They can't do that. I mean, I'll give BMW and, as a matter of fact, Triumph to a large extent their due. Whenever I had a warranty claim, they never asked me about servicing, and they simply said, right, we'll get the part ordered for you, and it should be here on such and such a day. Let's make an appointment for you to come in and get the part replaced. I never had issues with them waiting for a warranty voucher or getting the manufacturer to authorise it. They know what their responsibilities are. They take it out completely and then they take it up with the manufacturer to get compensation, and that's how it should work. Now, there are some manufacturers that actually write in their owner's handbook that, unless you have servicing carried out by an authorised whatever dealership, the warranty is null and void. Well, fair enough, you don't really need the warranty. But if they refuse to, honour replacement of parts or whatever that are clearly defective, this would come under the unfair contracts rules. When you buy a motorcycle, you're not given the handbook to read first. You get that when you're handed the keys for your bike after you've paid for it. So there's no way that handbook forms any part of any contract with anybody, because those parts of that contract were simply not made available to you at the time of purchase, and they contravene your statutory rights. An owner's handbook is just some useful information that assists you with the use of your motorcycle. It does not in any way, shape or form constitute a legally binding contract with anybody for anything. Contractually, an owner's handbook is a worthless piece of paper. Right, so that's the, if you like, legal technicalities relating to doing your own motorcycle maintenance. Let's have a little chat now why it may be preferable to do some of your own maintenance. The most obvious reason, and probably the overriding reason for most people, is cost. Dealership servicing isn't cheap. Now, it depends very much on who your dealership is and, where you live. I've heard of dealerships charging anything from £35 to £50 plus per hour, plus VAT, for servicing. That's a lot of money. Your average service is generally going to take 2 to 3 hours, depending on the age and mileage. And of course, in this day and age, money's hard to come by. It doesn't go as far as it used to, and it's not unheard of for people to have to pay between £300 and £400 for the service of a small motorcycle. So of course it makes perfect financial sense, providing you're competent and you know what you're doing, to do that servicing yourself. But the other side of this is it stops you from getting your leg lifted. Now, I've lost count of the amount of people that tell me that they've been charged for tappet adjustments on certain motorcycles, only to find that no one's ever touched the tappets, but the dealership has charged for it. And I had one unfortunate guy just a couple of weeks ago left a comment on one of my videos that he received a shocking bill for the first service on his bike, and one of the big components of that bill were 4.5 hours labour for adjusting the tappets on a single cylinder 350cc motorcycle. Now, I'm not a qualified mechanic, I just do what I can do, and I will get a mechanic to do what I can't do. But I can check and adjust your traditional lock nut tappets on a small single cylinder motorcycle, actually the same engine this guy was talking about, and I can do it in under an hour, and I can do it properly in under an hour, including the removal of the tank and all other paraphernalia to actually get at them. Now obviously the dealership in question, and I don't actually know which dealership it was, he didn't mention it, were trying to lift his leg. They were trying to pull a fast one, relying on his ignorance of what's involved to make a bit of easy cash. And unfortunately, this is all too common, especially with small dealerships. I'm not saying that there aren't some good ones out there that you can trust, but you certainly stand a really good chance of getting your leg lifted. It seems to be worse with motorcycles than it is with cars. So doing the servicing yourself ensures that you can use the best materials, and you're not being overcharged for unnecessary work or work that isn't even carried out, as again, I often hear stories about that. Now, don't get me wrong, if you've got a good dealership that charges reasonable rates and always does a good, honest job, hang on to them and by all means use them. In the past, a dealership has usually had one chance with me, and the first time things are not as they should have been, that's the last time I used them. So yeah, doing your own servicing can save you a lot of money, and it can also ensure that that the job has been done properly. Not something you can always be sure of when you leave a dealership. But for me, one of the more important things about doing my own servicing is that it forms a much closer relationship with your motorcycle. You get to know every square inch of that bike inside and out, which means you can spot a problem before it becomes a major problem, and you're better equipped to deal with it if you do have any issues. You actually stand a chance of rectifying the fault and getting the bike back on the road rather than sitting on the roadside waiting for roadside assistance, which I think is worth its weight in gold. I also found that I always have much more confidence in a machine that I service myself. Now, what it boils down to is ability and confidence. All motorcyclists should know how to check and adjust a chain. As far as I'm concerned, if you don't know how to do it and you've never done it, you shouldn't really be riding a bike. Same goes for checking your tyres and your tyre pressures and pumping them up if need be. We do live in a society now that over the last 20 or so years has been brainwashed into thinking that machinery is too complicated to work on yourself and you must take it into, a service centre and pay through the nose to have it done properly. I think it's possibly overcomplicated Japanese bikes that's bred that culture, but it doesn't need to be that way. Now, we're not all natural born mechanics. I'm certainly not. I have my limitations on what I'm prepared to tackle on a motorcycle. But general servicing is easy, especially on simple bikes like the Royal Enfield. But certainly I would advise with, any mechanicking on a motorcycle, know your limitations, only do what you know you can confidently undertake, and take the rest to a reputable dealership to be done. But don't give them an open checkbook, ask for a quote before you drop it off. If they're not prepared to give you any form of quote, they know these bikes, they should know what's involved. Walk away and find somewhere else. Now, if you do undertake your own servicing on a motorcycle that's under warranty, bearing in mind what I've said previously, keep records. Keep all your receipts for all the materials that you've bought, ensure that those materials fit the requirements of the manufacturer, and if necessary, take a little bit of video or just take some photographs of the procedure while you're doing it. So if it's ever called into question the competence of the servicing, you can demonstrate it that you've bought the correct materials recommended by the manufacturer and that the procedure was carried out correctly. We all have mobile phones capable of taking very good quality video and photographs. It's easy peasy these days. Right, so hopefully that will answer a whole host of frequently asked questions, especially this thing about warranties on motorcycles. It's not something I even think about when I buy a new bike. My warranty is the 2015 Consumer Rights Act. But if I ever get it wrong and something is my fault, I accept that and I sort it out myself. Right, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this and my other videos. I'm hoping next week that this living room thing will be well and truly in the past and I can get back to normal. I've got a number of projects that I really need to get filmed. It's all just driving me potty at the moment. I hope you've enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you have, please leave a like, and if you're not a subscriber, subscribe to the channel. It helps the algorithm to sort of, get the message out there that I'm uploading videos. I actually opened a second account on my phone a few weeks ago just to monitor what's happening with notifications. I've subscribed to my own channel, I've hit the notification bell, and I've checked that the notifications are enabled. I'm not getting any notifications whenever a new video is uploaded. So, I upload every Wednesday and Friday morning at 6 AM British time. If you don't get a notification, have a look to see what I've uploaded, because something will have gone up. YouTube just seems to be broken at the moment. I don't know what the issue is. Now, if you would like to support this channel in other ways, you can do that through Patreon or via the super thanks button down below. I will of course be back next week, so until then, please ride safely and I'll see you soon.